Hey, how's it going, guys? Nate here, and let me just start off this video by saying I absolutely love it when I get to make Fallout 4 content. It gives me just the perfect excuse to play this game endlessly without feeling like I'm being unproductive, and it kind of justifies just binging on this game as long as I really please.
Oh my god, here we go again. Look at Nate being unproductive.
Hey, fuck off, Conscience, no one wants you here. Anyway, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, if you're like me, whenever you played a Fallout game or maybe a Skyrim or something like that, you would have appreciated the addition of a survival mode of sorts. Perhaps the addition of a hunger bar or a thirst meter, something like that to add a bit more challenge and immersion. Well, as it just so appears, our prayers may just be getting answered. So Bethesda Game Studios recently tweeted out the following. We are also doing a complete overhaul of Fallout 4 survival mode. Food, sleep, diseases, danger, and more. Stay tuned. And oh my god, am I excited for this. Back when Skyrim was the main Bethesda game out, I even went back, got a PC, partly because of that game, and I downloaded a bunch of mods for it that would give the illusion of a survival mode. I got this starvation mod, dehydration mod, sleep deprivation mod, all of those things in an effort to kind of feel like there was a survival mode, and I really think Fallout 4 will benefit from the addition of one. Because Fallout 4 takes a lot of criticism for being less RPG-like than its predecessors and being less immersive as well. Well, personally, I think that the inclusion of a survival mode would definitely make the game far more immersive, far more challenging, and more RPG-like, and kind of just validate Bethesda's claim on the game. However, that said, we don't really have a lot of details on what features this survival mode will include, aside from a few of the things the tweet went over. However, we can look back at the past to kind of give us some insight on what the future may hold. So, Fallout New Vegas featured a survival mode of its own called Hardcore, and in this mode, it featured a lot of survival-based elements that we might be able to expect to see in Fallout 4. First thing is stim packs. They no longer instantly healed you when survival mode was enabled in New Vegas. If you got in a gunfight and your health was really, really low in Fallout 4, you can just take a stim pack and immediately your health would be rejuvenated and you'd get right back into fighting. But if survival mode was enabled in New Vegas, that wouldn't be the case. It'd take a lot of time for a stim pack to fully heal you, and as a result, if your health was really low in a gunfight and you took a stim pack, you weren't really guaranteed to make it out of there alive. It made it feel a lot more tactical and strategic than before. Another cool thing pertaining to health was that when you got a leg or a limb crippled, you would actually have to see a doctor to get that fixed, rather than just taking a stim pack to fix the problem. I remember Fallout 3 was my first Fallout game I played, and one of the biggest criticisms I had of it was when I first got my legs crippled in a gunfight due to an explosive, I didn't know what to do. I wandered around aimlessly for a few minutes, trying to figure out what the problem was, and then it occurred to me that a stim pack actually fixed it, and I didn't really like that, because I didn't think it was realistic enough. That was a big problem I had, although it was very convenient, I must admit. Another interesting thing that New Vegas' mode featured was the fact that ammunition now had a carry weight. And I think this would act very oddly in Fallout 4, and personally, I hope it doesn't happen, because Fallout 4 encourages a very much a pack rat mentality. Take whatever you can find and use it for creating a settlement or a weapon or armor mod or something like that. And seeing how emphasized picking things up and just everything you can find is in Fallout 4, the addition of ammunition having a carry weight would just be more or less an inconvenience, although I must admit, it would make the game a lot more challenging. Another thing about Fallout New Vegas' survival mode was that dehydration, starvation, and just like sleep deprivation, they would all kill you, but the process was rather gradual. Instead, if you haven't eaten in say like 3 days, your stats would start to go down first. You'd start to do less damage, you'd start to take more damage, and eventually that would all progress until you ate something and fixed the problem, or just starved to death and perished a very harsh yet non-violent death. And I thought that was a really cool thing, how the process was gradual in a sense. The biggest thing about New Vegas' mode that I personally think, however, was companions, and the fact that when a companion died, he stayed dead. Unlike in Fallout 4, when a companion takes a certain amount of damage, they just kneel down really for a couple of seconds, get their strength back, and go back to fighting. That was not the case, however, in Fallout New Vegas. If a Deathclaw swung at the head of one of your companions, that head is coming off, and it won't ever come back on. So it forced you to be a lot more protective, I guess you could say, of your companions and play a bit more tactical with them. Because in Fallout 4, personally, I have this tendency just to send Dogmeat on these things that would be suicide missions if he wasn't invincible, and just kind of sit back and watch him wreck house. I can no longer do that when survival mode comes into play, and I think that'll be pretty cool. It'll make me be a lot more conservative with him, and just a lot more strategic with my use of companions. And I think it'd be a very interesting addition, because I know my biggest thing with survival mode is the immersion that it provides, the realistic effects that it has, and just it makes you feel more in touch with the game. However, I think it should be more and more challenging, because a lot of players, I've actually got a friend, he's level 80, 100% completion, God knows how, but now the game is just a smooth breeze for him, you know? He plays, I think it's on like legendary or the hardest difficulty, and it's just a breeze for him. Everything he can do, he's got every gun, he doesn't really have a problem with anything. Well, the addition of a survival mode would at least add a little bit of a challenging aspect to that, and make the game a bit harder for him, and just give more incentive to play. Anyway, that's all of the speculation we could really do on gameplay effects. However, we can also discuss a possible release date for this update. So personally, I feel like the most likely release will be alongside Fallout 4's first DLC, because I think that DLC is supposed to release in March-ish, and it would not be surprising at all if that update came along with the DLC. The addition of survival mode and a DLC, and hopefully Fallout 4's survival mode won't be a part of that DLC where we actually have to pay for it. That would frustrate me a lot beyond belief, but let's just cross our fingers and hope that's not the case. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. My name's Nate. Hope you enjoyed. Like if you liked, dislike if you disliked, and I hope to see you all in my next video. Peace out, guys.